The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning or afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Welcome everyone to our Cherwell Advanced Practitioner call. My name is Steve Day with StrataCom. Today we're going to be talking about Teams integration to Cherwell. We've been doing quite a few of these for the Cherwell user groups. We thought it'd be a good topic for one of our AP calls. Eric Kruger, Principal Consultant for StrataCom, will be doing the presentation and demo. You can chat questions as we go, and I'll try and get them, have them read to Eric and answered as efficiently as possible as we go along today. Also, this presentation will be recorded, and we'll be sending out the link to this presentation in a few days following the today's presentation. With that, I'd like to introduce Eric and begin the presentation and demo. And take it away, Eric, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Let me fire up this slideshow. I do have some slides. It's going to the wrong screen. How do I switch? Okay, I'll just switch my screen here. All right, Steve, you should be able to see my slideshow now.
Yep, got it.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a Teams demo. You've probably, if you've been in any user groups lately, maybe you've seen this. I've been doing it for quite a few user groups. So I'll be doing a Teams demo and showing you how Cherwell integrates with Teams. Also, we'll show you hopefully a little bit of how to integrate back to Cherwell from Teams, although I am having a little issue with Cherwell, but I'm going to restart my my Cherwell stuff, and hopefully RabbitMQ will kick in. So I'm using the web services in Cherwell to do that, and have found that it's not always running on my development server. So I'm going to restart these servers. But let's talk a little bit about this Teams and Cherwell integration. So if you haven't seen this demo before, this is what I'll go over. So usually I don't do the slideshow, but this will be available to download. It does describe kind of in detail what you can do with these Teams and Cherwell integration, and also some of the use cases, the common use cases. And then I'll show you some common use cases in Cherwell and hopefully in Teams also. So, all right, so let's get into it here. Just a little bit about StrataCom. We were founded in 1997. We focus almost entirely on Cherwell. We've got like 16 certified Cherwell consultants. So we mostly do almost all Cherwell work since about 2012. So what is that, about 8-9 years, something like that. This is our 9th year as a Cherwell partner, I believe. Just a couple of our other solutions. We have a native mobile client and Kanban boards. So if you're interested in those, it's just another interface to Cherwell. And I'll actually even show you a little bit about how we use Kanban boards and Teams together. We've also got a brand new Gantt chart and a drag and drop scheduling calendar. So kind of our framework is being built out with all these complementary Cherwell products. So if you're interested in this, let Steve know, and we can hook you up with a demo of some of these products. So Teams and Cherwell, here's some of the use cases that maybe you'll see today. We can create a team and a channel or a channel in Teams for high priority incident. Then you can update the team and the channel with status updates to keep people updated with the incident status. So that's common. So if you've got a high priority incident and like a NOC is working on it or something, people may want to be kept up to date what's going on. And if you're a big Teams user, you might just create a team and add a bunch of people to it that you want to update. And then you can just send status updates to that channel. And I'll kind of show you what we do internally and how we do notifications via Teams for updates. You can do the same thing for problem records. So you can create a team and or a channel for a problem record, and then the problem team can collaborate in Microsoft Teams, and then you can pull in the Teams chat history to Cherwell. You can do the same thing for change. So if you have a change record that you need some collaboration on, you could do cab meetings in Teams. You can send updates for the change into Teams, and then you can pull all that Teams history into the change when it's closed or anytime. I'll kind of show you how you can do that, how you can pull it in when it's closed or really anytime during the life cycle. You can also use a Teams bot to generate a Cherwell ticket. A simple bot that I'll hopefully show you. You mention that bot in a channel in Cherwell, and that actually will open up a ticket in Cherwell, and all that's done via Webhook. So everything I'll show you in Cherwell you can do on pretty much any version of Cherwell that you're in. Anything I show you from Teams into Cherwell, you need to be on version 10 of Cherwell. So what are kind of some of your options with Teams in Cherwell? So you can create a team or a channel. So in Microsoft Teams, a team is just a group of users. In fact, it creates like a Office 365 group for the team. A channel is a topic in that group that you can chat. You can put chats to. So like we have a like a Cherwell, I call it Cherwell Genius Group, but it's a Teams team that just for Cherwell chats, and we've got some different channels in that team that we chat about Cherwell. We have a Cherwell related, which is where people ask all our Cherwell questions, but then we've got some like best practices or tips channels where we kind of put things where people could easily find them for searchable, kind of like a knowledge base. We have some channels for like that. If you create a team, you must also create a channel to hold the conversation. Although I will say that the team uses automatically a general channel that you don't have to create, and you can do the chatting in there. But what I'll show you is actually creating a channel for like an incident. If you use an existing team, you can just create a channel or use an existing channel that's in that existing team. And that's pretty common for customers we're talking to. They already have their teams that they want. So they just want either a channel created or even like just a message in the channel created for the incident or the problem. So it really depends on how your organization is set up. So we already have a marketing team that has multiple channels. For our marketing map, I just create a new channel for each marketing asset, and channels are removed when the marketing campaign is closed. So you can create a new team and invite people to be members of that team and to receive notifications about Cherwell ticket changes. So just a little bit about messages. Teams has a message and a message reply object. So really two classes of messages. So a message in a channel. This is the first message in a thread in a channel. There could be multiple messages in a Teams channel, like thousands or more. There really isn't a limit. And a message is looked at by Teams as an independent thread in a Teams channel and can stand alone, or it can contain other messages. The reply of a message, these are all the messages to all the replies to a message in a channel. So the number of replies is also limitless. Replies are tied to a message and do not cross messages. So if user answers a question in Teams channel, they're only answering a single message. There's not a way to update multiple messages in Teams with a single reply. And so what do you want to do with these messages if you want to pull them into Cherwell? So this is a little behind the scenes, but the messages and the replies, they have a parent-child relationship, so you need to pull them in specially. So you store them, and then you can store them in a single journal entry at the close of a Cherwell ticket, or you can build out custom child objects for messages and replies and store them there. I kind of like the child object because you can pull them back at any time, and you're tracking what you've pulled back. So that's a good way to do that. The single journal entry at the end of the ticket also works well if you just want to pull it back one time. But I'll show you examples of both of those.
Hey Eric, a couple questions, just so they don't stack
Okay.
up on me. I'll just fire them off when they come in. Does this Teams integration work with government cloud teams, GCC?
I would assume it would. You need to have access to your Teams Graph API from Cherwell. So if you can create a connection from Cherwell to your Teams, to your Graph API, wherever that is, you can do the integration. If you can't, then you can't. So it's not really a question of can you do it. with the capabilities that are in like that cloud. The question more is, can you get to that cloud from Cherwell? Because if you can, then you can do all these things. If you can't, then you're out of luck, then you can't do it.
Okay, and then when you remove the channel, can it be archived for future reference?
Yeah, if you remove the channel, you would want to pull in the information from that channel and archive it in Cherwell. So I'll kind of show you how that works in Cherwell. Once you remove a channel from Teams, it's gone. It's actually retained for 30 days, but after 30 days, it's gone. But yeah, the best practice would be to pull that chat information out of that channel into Cherwell so you could store it there.
Okay, sounds good. I do have one more.
Okay.
Can one public Cherwell Teams Office 365 group be created for all Cherwell incidents? And Paul is concerned about mass proliferation of Office 365 groups due to the Cherwell integration with Teams.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it however you want. If you don't want a whole bunch of groups being, or Microsoft Teams being created from Cherwell, that's fine. You can say, hey, here is our Cherwell incident team, and if you want to be a member of it. Now, I do believe there is a limit to the number of people that can belong to a team. I don't know what that limit is, or if it's different for different versions of Microsoft. Like we have like an E3 license, and we don't have enough people to hit that limit. So I was told at one point there is a limit to the number of people in a team, so that might be a downside. But if you just want it for, like, say, your help desk, I think it's hundreds or maybe thousands of people that can be in a team. I'm not sure what the limit is, but potentially you could just have one team you would send all your tickets to. That's actually the scenario I'm going to show. I just have one team. I call it my Cherwell test team that I'm sending all these tickets to. So you'll kind of see what it looks like when I do the demo.
And this works for on-prem and hosted, right?
Yeah, so actually the Cherwell instance I have is on-prem, and of course our Office 365 is hosted. So like I said earlier, if you can get a route from your Cherwell system out to Office 365 and back, then you can do this. Most on-prem systems, you'll be able to send information to Teams, no problem. If you're on premise, you may have difficulty sending information back from Teams to your on-premise. You'll need a firewall route in order for Teams to communicate back to Cherwell. But you should be able to go out to Teams, no problem, as long as your system has internet access.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Okay, so just a little overview of this. So that the integration is actually an integration with Microsoft's Graph API. So Graph API has a lot of capabilities to it around the Office 365 environment, Active Directory, like basically anything in like Azure AD and all these application teams and mail and all these things you can have access to. So the Teams integration is just a little sliver of Graph. So there's a couple prereqs for this, and actually if you download, and Steve can send it out if you want. We have a document that documents what you need to do, how to set up the Graph API in Azure in order to use this. It's similar if you've set up the new Exchange or Office 365 Gateway in 10.1. It's similar to that process. It's also available if you download the map from Cherwell for the Teams integration. They have a map. I can show you what their screen looks like. They have a very limited use case in the map, but it can show you kind of how it works, I guess. And they also have the document in that map on what you need to set up. So, but you've got to set up new application in the Azure portal to communicate to Teams via API calls. So all your communication is done via this new Azure app that you create. So you create an on behalf of user in Azure that will be used to integrate from Cherwell to Teams. And then there's some information that you have to get back from, you get a tenant ID, a support account, object ID, a client ID, and a client secret. And you need all that stuff for your Cherwell integration. And then once you have that, then you can start to build your integration. So I will say I set up all this stuff before Cherwell had any guidance on how to do this. And it took me 3 or 4 hours to figure out how to set up the application and the on behalf of. So it didn't take me that long. Now that Cherwell's got it documented, it's a really quick process. But kind of did all this without guidance, so things took me probably a little bit longer. But now that I've gone through the process, like most of our engagements for customers, we're quoting like 3 to 5 days to kind of implement the what I'll show you in this demo. So it's a pretty quick implementation of this integration. So here are some of the API functions available in Teams in the Graph API. So you've got members, you can pull members, channels of a team. You can chat. So a lot of the things that I show, it's just kind of a subset of even what you can do. So you can even do a lot more than what I'll show in this demo, but I'm kind of showing the core use cases that customers are asking about for Teams integration. Oops, back. So Teams talking back to Cherwell. So Teams can communicate back to Cherwell via bots. So if you want to do some things in Teams to talk back to Cherwell or open tickets or close, I'll show you a whole bunch of cool things you can do. Teams can only do it via webhook. So you've got to be on 10 and have the webhooks in order to talk back to Cherwell. You can set up your own webhook service using the Cherwell API if you don't want to go to 10 for some reason. And also our mobile Kanban framework supports webhook. So we could potentially set you up for that if you're already a customer of our native mobile or our Kanban and use our framework. So we can set you up with webhooks for that if you're on that and don't want to go to 10. And what I'll show you is you can mention these bots to communicate back to Cherwell, and then Teams, they send a post to Cherwell, and you can parse out the message and do something with it with a one-step. So really useful for opening tickets in Cherwell and also possibly request status. And I'll kind of show you some of the cool things you can do in Teams to communicate with Cherwell and get data back from Cherwell. So can you do real-time chats to Teams from Cherwell? Real-time chats are in theory possible. The beta Teams API, and a lot of these Teams API things are in beta. So I'd say about half of them are in beta, half of them are out. Probably most of the more common things are out of beta. And really the only difference between the beta one and then out of beta is just a different URL when you're calling the Graph API. But so all the beta stuff I've used has worked great. So I don't think you'll have any problem with that. You can respond to individual chat messages from Cherwell, and users can respond to those chats in Teams. And then you can pull back the responses kind of on a polled basis, or you can refresh to pull back the responses. So I think the chatting from Cherwell to Teams is kind of a neat idea, but if you've got Teams, why would you want to do it from Cherwell? I would just go into Teams and do it and then pull back the chat history. If you're going to pull back the chat history anyway, I would honestly just go into Teams and do it until Cherwell comes out with better integration to Teams that allows live chatting. Right now they don't. You have to do kind of a poll refresh, keep refreshing to see if someone's responded to your chat, and it's just kind of a mess. So that kind of live chatting, just do it in Teams. Really the power is being able to open a team or a channel and being able to pull all that information back in to Cherwell as history when you close the ticket. So I think the real-time chat is neat, but I don't see a lot of benefit of it if the tech already has Teams. All right, so let's take a look at the demo that I've got set up. I will slide this guy over. Hopefully this still works. Okay, so this is just an incident. So I've got some of the things I'm going to do over here on the right. So just a quick overview. I've got set up to create a team in Teams for the incident, create a channel in a team for the incident. You can create a message in Teams. We can pull all the messages back and the replies. We can send a card, and I'll show you how those cards work. We can pull the Teams history into a journal, and then we can remove the channel. So I didn't bake any of these into the workflow for this incident. I've got them all as one steps kind of over here in the actions, and it just demos a little better. I kind of do the demo in any order. So let me just create a ticket. I'm going to do this in incident, but of course you can do this from any object in Cherwell. I'll give a service classification. So this scenario, you would be creating an incident or a problem in Cherwell, and you would want to create a team or a channel in a team. I'll just assign it to myself, save it. Okay, and for this example, I'm just going to create a channel in a team. A lot of customers we're talking to, you know, they since we already have the team assigned, they may have a Microsoft Teams team that they want to create this channel in. I'm just going to create it in a generic channel, and I'll show you what that looks like after I create it. So I'm just going to run the action to create a channel in Teams for this incident. So this will be under my my Teams channel. I've got some pop-up boxes that'll pop up so I can explain what's going on here. So I already know what team I want to create this in because I'm only using one team for testing. So I already have the team's ID kind of in a table somewhere that I'm looking up and pulling out. So this is the channel ID that was created. So I created a channel under a team, and this is the channel ID that's created. So I'm going to store that in the incident. So I'm going to store this channel ID in the incident, and then I can use it to send messages to this channel, retrieve all the messages out of the channel. But that's one of the advantages of if you create the Teams object in Cherwell, now you can track it. Now I know what team I'm sending it to, what channel I opened, and then I can send messages to that channel. I'm going to close that. And then I think I'll get a response here back from Teams. Yeah, so this is the result I get back. So you can see there's a lot of information in here. So Teams sends back, you know, what channel it is, what team it is, and then I'm also getting back, there's a default message I create in that channel. So let's pull this, I'm going to pull this over here, and we'll take a look. So, all right, I always forget, 10180. So I've got, this is my Cherwell integration test team that I'm creating all these channels for. And here is the 10180 that I just created. You can see the Teams integration user. You can also, you know, you can have the user create these. I'm just using integration user. It's a little easier. I don't have to worry about who's logged in or if they have a token or anything like that. So, so you can see I created a message in here that's basically just the description. So, you know, I created the channel with the number of the ticket, and you can create the channel name to be whatever you want. You have complete control over it from Cherwell. So if you're creating tickets, you may want the ticket number dash assigned user group. You may want the ticket number dash incident, because if you're creating in a team channels for incident, change, and problem, you may want to say what type of Cherwell object that is. Okay, so now I've got this in here. So now people can collaborate in teams, right? So I'll put a reply in here and another reply. You know, since I have that channel information, I can also send a message to it. So if I want to send a message to that channel, I can. I can just put some text in here, and that'll send a message out to that team. So here's the message I just typed in Cherwell, and it sent it out as a new message. You can also reply to existing messages. I mean, it's really unlimited what you can do. If you can do it via the Graph API, you can do it from Cherwell. You just have to manage the data properly. So I'll even create a new conversation in here and a reply. Okay, so you get the idea. People are collaborating in this channel about this incident. So now that I've got all this collaboration going on, if I'm the owner of this ticket, I may want to pull that back and see what's going on in Teams. So I've created this Teams history tab to pull that information back. You can see I've already got one in here. This is the message I sent when I sent the message. That's already being recorded in here. I'm just gonna, I have a little one step to retrieve all the messages and replies. So those are gonna come back, and we'll store them in that same tab. And what I did for this is kind of the advanced method. So I'll show you this first. This is the advanced method of pulling them back. I'm grouping them by subparent entity so we can see all of the messages and the replies. So we can see here's the replies and the messages, my message that I sent over. Here's the new conversation. So we can see I'm pulling all those back. And anytime during this ticket's life cycle, you can go in and pull those back and see what the chat history is. So that's neat if you want to be able to pull it back, anytime during the life cycle of this ticket, and you want to pull back all the conversations. Because people tend to create new conversations in these channels. So you can't really count on there only being one message. So I'm just pulling back all the messages in this channel and all the replies. So the other thing you can do is kind of at the end of the ticket, you may want to pull all the history in and put it in a journal entry. So maybe you don't really care what's going on because you're in the team and you're one of the collaborators in the team. So you don't need to keep checking back on the team's history for this ticket. You just want to pull it back at the end of this ticket. So then I've got a one step to put the team's history in the journal. So what this does, it'll just pull back all the team's history. It'll create a single journal entry for kind of archiving that team's information. Generally, you'd probably do this when you resolve this incident. But you can kind of do it at any point. And every time, kind of the downside of this is every time you really are making a new history. So I've got it in as a comment, and you can see here I've got the messages and then the replies with the double dash. I just put a double dash on the reply so it's a little easier to see, and you can just kind of see it just follows the format of the Teams messages over in Teams, kind of in the same order. So you can kind of get that running history of what you did in Teams and put it into a message, put it into a comment.
Hey, Eric, I kind of have two questions kind of asking the same thing. If you add a file, if you add a file to the Teams channel, will it be added to the ticket?
You will have to pull it back special. So there is a retrieve attachments or retrieve files API call. So it will not come back. And keep in mind that this API, the Graph API is very specific, right? So I can pull back messages and replies, but attachments are different. It's a different API call. So you would have to, if you want to pull back attachments, that's another API call that you can do. But pretty simple to pull it back and store it as an attachment in the ticket. So yes, you can definitely do that. I don't have a demo of that, but it's just part of the Graph API, so not a problem.
If you pull partway through the life cycle, then pull again at the end, will you end up with duplicates?
Well, in my Teams history, you will not. No. So here you won't, because I'm tracking each one independently. So I know exactly which messages I've got and which replies I've got. So when I go out to the Graph API and pull this stuff back in, I just basically check to see if it exists or not. And if it doesn't exist, I add it. If it does exist, I don't add it. So no, you can do this 100 times and you'll never get duplicates. That's the advantage of doing it this way. When you pull it into a journal, if you're not tracking somewhere which ones you pulled back, it becomes a little more difficult. So instead of getting duplicates, what I end up getting is multiple comment fields, and each one would have the team history. So your newest comment field, and I put it in comment, that you can put it wherever you want, but your newest comment field would hold the latest chat information. But there's no real good way to know what you have and what you don't if you're just pulling it back into a comment. If you pull it back into the history like this, you know exactly what you've got, and you can just get the stuff you don't have. So there's no dupes. So this way is preferred if you're like pulling back multiple times in the life cycle and are trying to track what's going on. This way is probably preferred if you're just pulling it back once or twice and just want it for archival information. So this comment way is definitely a lot easier. The other, pulling it back into this Teams History tab, is a pretty complex one step and requires relationships and all the different things in Cherwell to determine whether or not you've got these messages and replies.
Can you pull the timestamps from each message also when retrieving the messages?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got those in here. It's got the created. Let me look at one of these. Yeah, so when I am pulling them back. So if you look at the comment for these, you can see that I'm pulling it back. It is in GMT, and I haven't converted it, so it's you can see that the times are in here, but they are in GMT. So it's a little bit, oh, that's the actual comment. It only wants to click on that one, okay. So yeah, you can pull the times back so you can see exactly when they're updated.
Okay.
Okay, and then kind of the last part of this is removing this channel once you're done. So when this ticket's resolved, you'd probably bake this into the workflow, but we can remove this channel from Teams. So if I just run this one step to remove the channel, I'll go in, oh, there it went. So it removed the channel from Teams. Teams is smart enough to say, hey, if a channel's gone, just pop me up to the team that I was in. So you can actually be in the channel just like I was and have it removed. And if you're doing this yourself, the successful return code for remove channel is no content, no space, no content, and you won't get a message back. So fun with the Graph API. So now that channel's gone. It's, the information is archived here in a journal entry. You know, I've got this comment, and I've got also all this history. So, and we can do the same thing, create a team. And this is just a little look at, I tried to get the Cherwell map to work. I couldn't get it to work in the system. I may have had some colliding variables or something, names, but if you download the map and look at it, you'll see you can create a team and then invite users to it and then kind of chat in the general tab of that team. So if you do want to download this and take a look at it, and then you can keep refreshing. Like I said, I couldn't get it to work, but you keep refreshing the messages here so you can see the latest messages. So it's an okay use case. I just haven't talked to a lot of customers that actually want to create teams to collaborate. They already have their teams that they want. They usually want to create channels. So that seems to be the bigger use case that customers want to do. Okay, so let's pop into Teams. I'm going to show you some of the things that you can do from Teams now into Cherwell. So I've got these simple bots that I've created in Teams, and I can just mention these bots and they will do some different things. These bots are really easy to create. They're basically just web service calls, so calls out to a webhook. These simple bots are tied to a team, or actually a channel in a team. You can tie them to multiple channels. So basically what you do is you tell a channel, hey, I've got this bot that I can mention and it can open. So you could have like a help desk team that people could go to submit tickets, something like that. So I'll just show you how we can submit a ticket to Cherwell with a bot call. And then I'll show you a little more advanced bot also that I'm working on that'll do a lot more things. These are just super easy. Oops. Let me mention correctly this guy. Okay, so I'm just this bot. He doesn't do much. He just sends everything that I type after @Cherwell to Cherwell. So I've got some. I need some help in here, and then I'll scroll down. I saw that message get created, and then we get this little message back from Cherwell, or actually from Teams, and this is because Cherwell's request, when we send the webhook into Cherwell, Teams is expecting an asynchronous HTTP response and it doesn't get one. So right now, the way that Cherwell's webhooks sit, they're not optimized for Teams. So hopefully soon, first or second quarter next year, they will be. So if you want to do some of this stuff, I'll show you how you can do it without getting the error too. But if you just create this simple bot, you're going to get this error. But let me show you what this did. Hopefully by the time most of you are ready to implement this type of functionality, Cherwell has fixed their webhook API to work for Teams. So what it did is it created this ticket 10185, and it says click here to chat with your Cherwell ticket owner. So it created a channel for that ticket that I can go in here and chat for that with that ticket. So I can just click on this. You can email that to somebody. So here's the ticket for this is 10185. I can go in here and chat with the owner or whoever is taking over this. So let's take a look at this ticket in Cherwell, how it got created. I'm just going to pull it up. and I'll just show you some of the things that that got auto-filled in. So keep in mind, I'm calling a webhook in Cherwell. I have a bot, this little bot guy, back in general. He calls a webhook in Cherwell, and the webhook is set up. I set the webhook up basically to take everything that the bot sends in and create an incident from it. So let's take a look at the incident that was created from this very simple bot. So the first thing I did is I hard-coded the call source to Teams. So I created a source Teams, so I know where it comes from. This customer, it actually knows who I am because I'm logged into Teams and I'm in Cherwell. So it looked me up in the Cherwell customer database based on my, I can't remember the email, or there's a special number that you have an Active Directory that you may want to populate in your customer data to look it up with. So I populated with me because I knew who it was, and then I put a little prefix in the description, and then just all the text that I sent over goes right here. So then the rest of the stuff, now here's a good tip that I learned working with webhooks. Webhooks are incredibly difficult to troubleshoot in Cherwell because they run in the background and you don't get a lot of response of what's going on. So even when I started this project this summer, I was like, I couldn't find a good example of what a webhook from Microsoft Teams might look like. So what I did is I created an incident and I just stuck the raw webhook into the description. And then I had it. So once you get the webhook, then you can parse it out, you know, the format of it with the one step. So, and I recommend doing this for, in fact, I just talked to one of my consultants yesterday, and he was having trouble with something that was outgoing. And I said, you know, just write a journal entry for every single outgoing API call that you have and put the response code in there and stuff. And then you don't have to run through you don't have to like pump it out in message boxes. Just put it in a journal entry on the ticket, and then you can track every single webhook or web call out. And you can do the same thing coming in. You can create, like I'm actually creating a task record for every single incoming webhook to track where it came from, what's in it. So if I want to go look at that stuff, I just go look at the tasks that were created, and I can see all the webhook payloads. So if you're working with webhooks, that's a neat little trick you can do in your one step. So I've got the raw body from Teams in here. I kept it in case anybody wanted to look at it. There's a ton of stuff in here, right? That of information. What team did this webhook come from? What channel? What user? What message? So you'll notice in this webhook call, I put, I need some help. Well, Teams responded right to this message and said, hey, your Cherwell ticket number is this. So it sends the message over to the webhook where it came from. So in the one step, I just responded to the message it came from. You know, simple concept, but there's a lot of stuff you have to set up to do that. I chose a default classification, default priority, default assigned team. You could build some smarts into it if you want. This is just a demo system, so I didn't really build much smarts into there. So now I've created this ticket in Cherwell. So, and that might be common for a customer to do that, or more than likely, maybe it's a technician that does that for a customer. So I've kind of built some functionality for this demo around technicians. So I built another bot called Cherwell Incident Card. And what this does is it requests information from Cherwell about an incident. So I'm saying, hey, Cherwell, give me incident about 101.85. So I'm going to request a card for this. And let me explain cards really quick. So these team cards are a very simple JSON object. There's a couple different types of cards that you can do in Microsoft Teams. This card is very simple. It's called the messaging card. Teams also has what they call adaptive cards, which are kind of live. They're a little bit more difficult to work with because you need to use their behind-the-scenes workflow if you want to update those. These messaging cards are just really simple. I can send them out from Cherwell to Teams. So in this case, I requested a card in Microsoft Teams for a ticket. And so you can format these cards however you want. I've got the nice little Cherwell logo. I say, hey, it's Eric Kruger's incident in Cherwell. And then I put some information about the ticket on the body of this card, the number, who it's assigned to, when the due date is, and what the status is. These cards are also kind of cool because you can do actions with them and send information back to Cherwell. So if I want to add a comment to this incident, I can just type my comment in click add comment, and that does a webhook call back to Cherwell to add a comment to this ticket. The other thing I can, so you're just sending this over to the one step, and the one step is doing the action. So the other thing I've got is a change of status. So if I want to change the status of this card, I made these cards smart enough to know what the next status is, or what the action is to do the next status. So, and keep in mind, you know, we're doing this in our framework for native mobile and Kanban and our Gantt charts and calendar. So we've had a lot of experience like getting stuff out of Cherwell's API and sending it back. So to me, this workflow seemed really natural to send a card back with the next action, because that's what our native mobile does. Whatever status you're on in native mobile, it always gives you the next action to choose in native mobile, right? So we kind of already had that part down. So this is sending back begin work. I'll begin work and click save. And one of the downsides of these cards is you don't really get a good response whether it worked or not. You know, you also notice I don't get the error message back that I was getting here, so it kind of hides that for you. I've never seen an error. I suppose I could shut down Cherwell and see what happens. I'm guessing if I shut Cherwell off, I'm going to get an error here. But normally this just works pretty well. So, you know, so now I can add a comment and change status. So now if I'm a technician and I go out and I've begun work and I want to do something else to this ticket, I can just request a new card. I've got Cherwell incident card. I'll request a new card for this. And keep in mind, like I said, there are dynamic cards that you can get to update. Okay, so we'll get our new card back. Sometimes it takes a second. You send it into the webhook, Cherwell has to process it, run a one step, and then send the information back. And you know what? I've had a couple issues with this. Oh, here it came back. Okay. So you can see up here, this is the first card I requested is new. The second card I requested, the status is in progress, right? So the status changed. So now if I go to change status, my change status is resolved. So now I can resolve this ticket. I should probably update this demo, but so when I resolve a ticket in out of the box Cherwell, resolution code is not required. So I don't have that in here. You could put that on this card in this action if you wanted a resolution code and a resolution description if you wanted to. I just didn't take the time to set it up. So when I send this card back, I've just got a little bit of logic in Cherwell that says, hey, what's the next status? Well, the next status for this ticket's resolved. I'm going to click save. It'll resolve the ticket. So let's go look at this ticket in Cherwell. I'm going to refresh it. It hasn't picked up that it's been updated yet. There we go. Okay, so this is the ticket that I created from Microsoft Teams. I did begin work for Microsoft Teams, and I resolved it for Microsoft Teams. So now I've got a ticket Cherwell that I didn't do anything in Cherwell to create or update. I did it completely from Microsoft Teams. So if you go to some of the user groups and listen to some of the roadmap conversations, one of the things like Ari talks about is multi-channel, right? So how do I work on my Cherwell tickets? You know, you've got your Slack integration already. You know, you've got products like our native mobile and Kanban, and now you got Teams. So it's just another channel where Cherwell is kind of your database of tickets, but how do you access those tickets? How do you update those tickets? How do you create them? You know, what channels do you go through? So Teams just becomes another input/output for Cherwell in this case. So I basically ran through the entire life cycle of this incident without ever going into Cherwell, which I think is pretty cool. So if you've got groups that you think are big Teams users, you can set up some of those very simple bots. You can set up those cards that will come back and have the information. You can actually send these cards to channels. So you can see I've actually got a send a card to Teams action here. So you can actually send a card to a channel. One of the unfortunate limitations of the Graph API is you can't initiate a chat with somebody outside of a channel. So that's a little unfortunate. Hopefully they'll update the Graph API so that will actually work. If that does, then you could just chat somebody a Teams message. So I think that is really cool. Let me show you a little bit how we use Teams, and maybe it'll give you an idea of what you can do. Let me pull up this system here.
Let me know when you're ready for a couple questions, Eric.
Yeah, we can do some questions. See if I've got to like set this guy up
Okay.
a little bit. Yeah.
Let's see here. Can the whole Office 365 Teams group be removed with all channels?
Yes. Yep, that would be common if you create a team for an incident. You can just remove the team. And once you remove a team, all the channels go away.
Is this integration sensitive to feature changes or updates to the Teams client?
I'm going to say probably not. I mean, the client doesn't really have any effect on the Graph API. So this is all API integration behind the scenes. Once Microsoft has that Graph API set, so the things that are set in the Graph API, it would be highly unlikely that that would ever change.
Okay. And can this integration also be used for approvals on tickets?
Yeah, it sure could. Yep. Yeah, you could approve tickets from Teams. And because you could create a little bot in Teams that was like add approve and then send in what you want to approve. And because Teams knows who you are, Cherwell can validate that you're actually the person that needs to approve that change or whatever it is.
Okay. And then Paul had pointed out that there's a Teams group constraint of 200 max channels, including deleted channels.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. So one of the there's a couple caveats with that. So there's also a limit to the number of teams you can create, but not from the API. So the number of teams you can create from the API, essentially unlimited. The number of channels per team that you can create is 200, and it does include deleted channels, but those deleted channels get cleaned up after a month. So essentially, after the first month, what you have is kind of a rolling total of 200 channels a month that you can create per team, if you're deleting them and cleaning them up. So if you've got a desktop support team that gets, say, 200 incidents a month, you might not be able to create a channel for every incident, right? Because you're going to be pushing up against that 200, and especially like after the first month, if you have 200 and delete them all, well, you're done for a month until they all get deleted. So you kind of have this month where until those 200 get deleted, you can't create anymore. But then once those 200 are deleted, you can create 200 more, and then you're kind of rolling with the 200 a month. So creating a channel is better for a team that gets, in my estimation, way less than 200, maybe even less than 100 tickets a month. If they get more than that, you probably need to create a custom team, for the first 200 tickets and another team for the next 200. You'll have to figure something out. It's just a limitation in Teams. I hope they remove that limitation for API channels, or maybe get rid of the deleted that counts for 30 days. I don't know. What I found is most of the limitations that I'm running into with this Teams integration are on the team side. Like Cherwell really doesn't have too many problems. It's Teams that is kind of limiting some of these use cases.
Okay, thanks. Can users have access to open tickets if they only have access to the Cherwell portal?
Like from Teams, kind of what I'm doing here, yeah, they can, because
that's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So because the webhook is set up unauthenticated, at least my webhook is, so anybody can come in and request and ping that webhook. Now, so if you want controls around what's pulled out that webhook, you need to build the controls into the one step that sends the data back. So if I've got a guy that just has portal access and doesn't have Cherwell access, requests an update, like one of these cards, request one of these cards back, you'll need to verify in the one step that they can see the information in that card. Or so let's say you check to see if they're a Cherwell user. If they're not, maybe you send them a different card than you would send a Cherwell user. So you really need to think through that. Basically, everything you're doing is in a one step. So just think, hey, if I can do it in a one step, it can be done.
Okay.
Okay.
One more here. Well,
Sure.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So let me show you what we use as kind of our day-to-day, and people love this. But so here's this is our marketing event. So this is in Cherwell. This is the Kanban board that we use to manage. Quick little backstory behind this. Cherwell came to us and said, hey, we want to manage our marketing campaigns in Cherwell and use your Kanban framework. Can you help us out? So we developed a marketing map for them, which is just holds marketing data in Cherwell, and then we built some Kanban boards for them. So Cherwell Marketing uses our Kanban product and Cherwell, and they displaced Jira. They used to use Jira to manage their marketing campaigns, and now they use Cherwell. So we thought, hey, we do marketing, let's manage our marketing campaigns in Cherwell. So we went to Cherwell to manage our marketing campaigns and put our Kanban boards in front of it. So this is something we use in our day-to-day life. These are all our marketing campaigns. You can see here's our AP webinar. MS Teams integration is scheduled. So I'm just going to move this to completed because basically I'm doing this right now, and it's not quite done, but I'll move that over to completed. And what I've got in Cherwell is I've actually got a message back to Cherwell that says, hey, this was just updated. So then I notify Cherwell, the StrataCom's sales team, which is Steve and Laura and me and the other Steve and Bill, and I say, hey, this Teams integration was just updated by me. And then I send a card to this channel that has the information. You can see, oh, it's closed, right? So I send it. So we're just basically using it for notification because we already have a slick UI that we like in our Kanban board. So we're just notifying people that, hey, something changed on this marketing event. And to guarantee the notification goes out, I do a mention in here, and we've got 7 members on our sales team that will get this update. And if you're looking up here, I actually upgraded this system yesterday from 9.3.2 to 10, and it took me 2 hours. I'm very happy to say. So part of that is we don't use a Cherwell client. We just use Kanban boards and calendars. We use all our products. So like I was able to update with no issues. We didn't have to do a single thing in order to get our products to work against 10 versus 9.3.2. So I was doing a little complaining that this is how Cherwell should do UI development because you can upgrade completely painlessly, but they haven't. So that's how we use it, which is really cool. And then I have one more thing. I know we're running short on time. I want to have time for questions, but I do want to show you this little bot that we're working on also. This is just running in a sandbox right now. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to type the same thing and I typed in for the other bot. And this guy says, hey, what do you need help with? So this bot is actually, he's quite a bit smarter. He would be available to anybody to chat with. So this is kind of a chat bot. And the idea behind this is, I've got to work on these little buttons and stuff, but this chatbot's actually looking into Cherwell to get these questions and answers. So I say, hey, I need some help. He says, I'm here to help. What do you need help with? Folks into Cherwell, we have a little map that has questions, answers, and actions in it that this bot will use to communicate with the user. So what do you need help with? The answer to what do you need help with is, a lot more questions, or, I lost my phone, I need to onboard. So in Cherwell, you just put the answers in, like, okay, what do you need help with? Okay, the answer is I need my password reset. My account is locked. And then you say, okay, I need my password reset. What are the questions for that? Or is there an action? So if I hit I need my password reset, I'm just echoing back right now what I clicked. But the idea behind this is you'll be able to manage your questions, answers, and actions in Cherwell, and this bot will just read them and communicate with the user. So I think the stuff Cherwell is working on with their bot is kind of neat, but to me, I came from an engineering background, so this stuff makes sense to me to be able to build out basically a knowledge base in Cherwell that says, hey, if I need my password reset, well, then you ask them, like, can you do it on your phone? Maybe you have some questions to ask them, and then you end up with an action, right? Maybe it's an automated password reset. Maybe you take them to a link where they can create a ticket. Maybe you send them a knowledge article. Whatever it is, you want to manage that data in Cherwell. So that's kind of the idea behind this guy. So it's a little more advanced than some of these mention bots that are in here, which are also cool, right? But they're kind of limited to what they can do and where they can sit, where these other bots can kind of sit in your entire team's environment. So it might be a better choice for like customer interaction. So, but that's our Teams demo. So I can stay on as long as needed to answer questions. I think, let me check my calendar. I think I'm free. Yes, I'm free. So Steve, if there's other questions or people want to chat, I can stay on for as long as necessary to wrap those up.
Yeah. We just had our top of the hour meeting moved, Eric. We did have one, but
okay.
Steve just changed it. So Kevin has a question. Can you make drop downs in Teams for service category, subcategory classifications, combinations like what is on Cherwell incident forms? Did I read that right? Can you make drop downs in Teams for service category, subcategory classifications, combinations like what is on Cherwell incident forms?
Yeah, I think I know what he's getting at.
Okay,
here.
and he started the integration with Slack, but's having a hard time getting Cherwell to dynamically send the information to populate the drop downs in Slack.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Slack, unfortunately. I know in Teams, the hierarchical, like service category, subcategory, I haven't tried that yet. So I don't know if I could get it to work in Teams or not with this messaging card. Now, I know I could get it to work with an adaptive card, but it would be a lot more work. So because I would just, because once they choose service, then I would ping Cherwell back for all the categories for that service. So you think about, and like for our native mobile and combat, we're doing with API calls in the Cherwell. But this is a little different because you're using a webhook. It's not an API call, and you're not getting data back. You're actually getting data pushed back to you. So it's a little bit different scenario working with Cherwell from Teams because it's not true API calls. It's more like message busing back and forth. So I think I could probably make it work with this simple thing, but I'd have to send back with this simple card. I'd have to send back all the service categories and subcategories, and then filter it out with a JSON, like with a JavaScript filter in the JSON.
Can you create and resolve an incident all in the same step using a Teams call-in?
Yes, yeah, you sure could. Yep.
Okay.
You just need either a special bot or a special tag that you would send into Cherwell. So, like I said before, you're just getting this, like when I put in Cherwell incident card 10185, you have a one-step that gets this information, and then you decide what to do with it. Like, okay, I'm going to go, or like this create that I did here. Where did I do that? I need some help. If you had a at Cherwell create and resolve where you just sent in the information for it, or maybe Cherwell create and resolve sends you back a card and then you fill it out on the card and send it in. But yeah, you can definitely do that. So like I said, if you can do it in a one step, you can do it from Teams to Cherwell. So if you think you can create a ticket in a one step and resolve it in that same one step, then yes, you can do it from Teams.
Okay. Have you considered any type of chat queue functionality to help end users contact the support desk through chat?
Yeah, with our little chatbot we're building here, this will, if the chatbot can't answer the question, it is going to send the request into queue to chat with a live agent. Now, how that chat is actually done through Cherwell, that's going to depend a lot on how how Cherwell enhances their integration with Teams, whether or not you can chat right with this bot via Cherwell, where now the way the integration works, you cannot. So you would have to chat, right now you would have to chat, like the Cherwell tech would have to chat in Teams with this bot, basically. But if Cherwell enhances their Teams integration, in theory, you could chat with this bot in Teams. Like I said, you sort of can now, but it's not live. You have to refresh and chat, and keep refreshing that button to see the next chat. So, but yeah, so that, and I think that's going to be pretty kind of, I'm hoping Cherwell puts that in their next release of the Teams integration. If they don't, it wouldn't be very hard to add that chat or that queue capability for a bot to put itself in the queue and wait until it gets picked up.
Kevin also said, are you saying that we're not limited to the bots you have shown us today, as in the bots could be customized?
Oh yeah, that totally. I mean, I built these bots in like 5 minutes. The mention bots, this bot's gonna take a lot longer, but my little mention bots, you can do whatever you want. You could build hundreds of them, right? So they only take a few minutes to build each. They're really simple. There's much more work on the Cherwell side to catch that information and create tickets from it. But you could have bots that basically do the same thing across your Teams enterprise, sending to the same webhooks. So if you have create incident bots, you can send them in, and then you can have different rules in your one step. So if it gets created from this team, you assign it this service category, subcategory. So you really need to think big. Like, you're not really limited by anything. So if you can think, can I do this? Probably the answer is yes, unless you want to chat directly to somebody from Cherwell. You can probably do it.
And then Gerald asked if we have a map for this, and I know the answer, but I'll let you answer. And he also asked, can the bots access KAs, knowledge articles?
Yeah. So we don't have a downloadable map for this, and the problem I'm finding is that everybody's Teams is set up different, and everybody has different scenarios. So, like, Cherwell has a map, but the scenario, the use case is very limited. In fact, it's so limited I haven't run into a customer that wants to do that yet. What their use case is, but customers are all over the board on how they want to create channels or create messages or notify people or create teams in Microsoft Teams from a service request. So we don't have a downloadable map. Basically what we do is we engage with the customer, find out exactly what they want to do, and then we build them a map that does exactly what they want. And then we send them the map or apply it. Usually we'll end up applying it to their test. So yeah, we don't really have a map. And I don't think anybody ever really will. I mean, I suppose we could put a map out that does everything, but it would be so complex to pull apart and figure out what you wanted to use. I don't know if it'd be much use. So
that would keep you busy.
Yeah.
No, that's it, Eric.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Good job. A reminder to everyone that we'll send out the link to this recording. And as always, if you have any other questions for Eric or myself, just shoot us a note. And thanks, everyone. Hope to see you next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Steve.
Have a good day. Bye.